These are my picks for UFC 312 Duplessis versus Strickland 2. In the main event, Dricus versus Sean. I believe the main event will closely resemble their first fight. If either fighter has a greater chance to improve their performance, I see it being Dricus, and I believe he has the potential to secure a finish. One key factor to consider is a recent newspaper article featuring Sean Strickland with the headline urging him to knock him out. This makes me think that the judges might not be on his side if the fight goes to a decision. Just like in their first fight in Canada, where the crowd was on his side, but the government wasn't, a similar dynamic could play out in Australia. If the fight is close, the judges may lean against him, unless he dominates in a way that makes it impossible to rob him. However, that's unlikely given his usual approach. Even in fights he's winning, Strickland tends to apply constant pressure while staying safe rather than aggressively pushing for a finish. In the co-main event with Weili Zhang and Tatiana Suarez, this is a tough fight to call, mainly due to Tatiana Suarez's long periods of inactivity. However, despite these gaps, she holds victories over several notable names. And even as I speak, I find myself going back and forth on my pick. But ultimately, I lean towards the champion Zhang Weili as the more likely winner, giving her high-level wins and overall strength of schedule. That said, don't be fooled. Based on my preferred betting strategy of placing small wagers on long shot parlays, I'll be including Suarez on multiple identical slips, simply swapping her with Zhang. And Taliesin Teixeira versus Justin Tafa. This upcoming bout between Justin Tafa and Teixeira is exceedingly challenging to predict. Tafa has a record of 7-4, and he's demonstrated significant knockout power throughout his career. However, Teixeira, he's undefeated, and he brings youth, a substantial height advantage at 6'7", and he also has an impressive reach. Given their combined history of first-round knockouts, it's plausible to anticipate another early finish. And considering my strategy of placing small bets on long shot parlays, I like the under 2.5 rounds prop. I feel like this could be advantageous towards one of these big wins. While Tafa has the experience, I'm inclined to favor Teixeira due to his physical advantages and the undefeated record. Jimmy Crute versus Rodolfo Bellato. I'm picking Rodolfo Bellato in this fight. He comes in with more momentum, has a height advantage, a reach advantage, and has demonstrated effective leg kicks, particularly calf kicks, which could play a crucial role. Jimmy Crute has struggled with these exact types of attacks in the past, as seen in his loss to Anthony Smith, and even in his fight with Modestas Bukauskas, despite winning. Additionally, I believe Bellato absorbs shots better, which could give him the durability edge in exchanges. Jake Matthews versus Francisco Prado. I'm picking Jake Matthews in this fight. He's tough to finish, and when he does lose inside the distance, it's usually by submission rather than knockout. If he can keep the fight competitive, he stands a good chance of winning a decision on home soil, similar to how Jamie Malarkey did in Australia 2 years ago in February. Just like right now, it's February. I don't know. I believe in little things like that might play a factor in these outcomes. But anyway, Francisco Prado, on the other hand, has yet to prove he can knock out rising UFC contenders. His only UFC KO win came against Otman Azatar, who is currently on a 3-fight losing streak, all by KO/TKO. Jack Jenkins versus Gabriel Santos. I'm picking Gabriel Santos in this fight as he's faced tougher competition and has more impressive performances, including a split decision against Lerone Murphy. And even in his loss to David Onama, which is understandable given Onama's power, I would rate that more than Jack Jenkins' opponents. On the other hand, Jack Jenkins, his wins don't carry the same weight, and in his recent opponents, they seem to be on a decline. And his win over Herbert Burns, he's on a 4-fight skid, so obviously that doesn't stand out as a notable opponent. And that said, I don't like the Santos money line, and the fight being in Australia makes me wary. If it goes the distance, Jenkins could get the decision despite not earning it. I'm still picking Santos, but I'd rather play the fight goes the distance as a safer bet. Tom Nolan versus Vyacheslav Borshev. I'm picking Vyacheslav Borshev in this fight because he has the better experience, while Tom Nolan has yet to prove himself against high-level competition. If Nolan pulls this off, it'll be his first notable win in my eyes. I'm not overanalyzing this fight based on Nolan's physicality, and I'm not letting Borshev's loss to Chase Hooper change my read just because he got dropped. This should be a stand-up battle where Borshev's experience shines. Kong Wang versus Bruna Brazil. I'm picking Wang Kong in this matchup as I believe she can either dominate all 3 rounds or secure a KO/TKO victory. Her opponent, Bruna Brazil, was previously knocked out by Denise Gomez, who was notably smaller in stature. Additionally, I don't think Brazil poses a significant submission threat. This fight seems designed to reignite the hype surrounding Wang Kong. Next fight, Alexander Topuria versus Colby Thickness. First off, what a name, right? Thickness. This matchup between Alexander Topuria and Colby Thickness, it's intriguing. Topuria, the older brother of UFC featherweight champion Ilia Topuria, is making his debut, and we have Thickness stepping in on short notice, and he's undefeated at 7-0, and a training partner of Alexander Volkanovski. Given the circumstances, this seems like a setup fight to build hype for Topuria. I'm predicting another KO victory for him. However, it's worth noting that Thickness's previous opponents have had stronger records than Topuria's previous opponents, which could indicate a potential for an upset. I'm definitely including Thickness in some of my long shot parlays. Then we have Cody Steele versus Rong Zhu. Cody Steele is a high-level Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt with a notable striking game, and he's set to make his UFC debut today. His opponent, Rong Zhu, boasts a record of 25-6, and he started competing professionally since 2016. While Steele's undefeated record and recent performances have generated significant hype, it's important to note that Zhu's extensive experience could pose a substantial challenge. Given these dynamics, this fight has the potential for an upset. Including Zhu in some long shot parlays might be a strategic move. Kevin Jousset versus Jonathan McAuliffe. In this upcoming welterweight clash, I'm backing Kevin Jousset to come out on top. Despite both fighters hailing from Australia, Jousset's superior UFC experience gives him the edge, I feel. He has already secured 2 victories in the UFC since his debut. And that demonstrates his ability to perform on the big stage. And his opponent, Jonathan McAuliffe, is just making his UFC debut, which can be a daunting task for some competitors, especially against a seasoned vet.
Given Juicet's established presence and recognition in the UFC, any potential hometown favoritism from the judges is more likely to swing in his favor. This familiarity with the UFC environment and the judges' potential bias towards a more recognized fighter could play a significant role in the fight's outcome. Quillan Salkeld versus Anshul Jubbly. This matchup between Quillan Salkeld and Anshul Jubbly is more intriguing than the odds suggest. Salkeld, a heavy favorite, boasts a 7-fight win streak, but a closer look reveals that his previous opponents lack experience. On the other hand, Jubbly has faced tougher competition, including winning the Road to UFC Season 1 lightweight tournament. He secured a notable victory against Jeka Saraji via TKO in the second round, earning him a UFC contract. Although he suffered a setback in his last fight against Mike Breeden, Jubbly's experience in the UFC could give him an edge in this bout. Given these factors, I'm picking Jubbly to pull off the upset.